And then after I stepped away, I'm like, oh my God, I just cost myself like 20 grand here just by agreeing to something. I gave him that offer. It was like, it was so stupid. But I was like, okay, well, I lost it anyways. What did I learn from it? And the learning lesson was like, never make a decision when you're under emotional stress.
Hey guys, Ben Osterveld here from Within the podcast. I just wanted to give a little intro because this isn't your typical podcast today. This is an inside look at the Agent from Within Academy. I coach a lot of real estate agents nationwide, and I had a guest speaker come in and to speak to my group. And it was really, really good. And I wanted to share it with you guys, the audience that maybe aren't even real estate agents. If you are an agent, check out the Academy. It's agentfromwithin.com/academy. It's totally low cost, high value online coaching. We meet 3 times a month with training and live coaching. Anyways, there's a little commercial. But I wanted to share this podcast because it had so many nuggets of gold along the way. Laurence is absolutely brilliant. So have a listen, and welcome to the Agent from Within Academy, the inside look. Cheers.
I want to introduce Laurence Tham, right?
Yep.
Laurence and I have been.
Hey guys, how's it going?
So Laurence and I have we've been friends for, I don't know now, 2-3 years. Our common connection is Philip McKernan, our mentor. So Laurence and I are very similar in what we do. Laurence deals with chiropractors. I deal with real estate agents, but we're very much centered around personal growth, mindset, the internal answer versus the external answer, but we're both very practical. I think it's actually the best of both worlds, to be honest. And so Laurence had some big achievements. I've sent you guys all an email with his bio and some videos and things. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it. But Laurence, why don't you just explain kind of what you do and a little bit of your philosophy, and then maybe I have some questions and wouldn't mind hearing a bit of your story too.
Oh, cool. Guys, listen, thank you for showing up today. I know it's a crazy time of year, no matter where in the world you are. I'm here down under in Australia. I noticed the first thing you'll notice is that I don't have an Australian accent. That's because I'm not Australian. Well, I am Australian, but I've been here for 16 years. I'm actually Canadian. But I grew up in Toronto, and I left 2002, came here to Australia with my wife, and was planning to stay here for about a year, and we just haven't left, and still here. So that's why. So I just kind of give you some context of the accent. So let's get that out of the way. Listen, I'm just excited for you to show up on January 3rd. It's always a crazy time of year, and for you guys to commit yourselves to to kind of showing up here and being coached by Ben and spend some time with me here. I want to honor that. I'm not going to waste your time. So I want to leave, really my history is that I was a chiropractor, graduated and came straight here and practiced here in Australia, built one of the largest practice here in Australia. And about 4 or 5 years ago, I've done a whole bunch of things. I started a podcast show about 7 years ago called The Wellness Guys, before podcasts were popular, became #1 here in Australia. And I think we hit like top 20 in the world for a little while there.
Is it still around, Laurence?
It's still around. I actually left the show about a year and a half ago. I just felt it wasn't really for me anymore. So the 2 other guys I started with still run it. We actually started something called the Wellness the Wellness Couch, which is basically a podcast network. It has about, I don't even know how many shows it has on, probably about 25 shows, I think, on it right now. So 25 different podcast shows on it. And they run a network of podcasts all in wellness. And I was a co-founder of that too as well. But a year and a half ago, though, I decided to kind of stop that and just really focus in on my coaching business. I've been coaching chiropractors for about 4 years. I stopped practicing about 4 years ago. And so when I went all in, so I did both for a little while. And then I just decided that I needed to kind of concentrate on, focus on one thing. So that's what I do now. Listen, I've just been listening to the conversation that you guys have been having and talking about execution and implementation. And Ben is, you guys know Ben by now, I'm sure. And he's a freaking implementer. Like he's freakishly from an implementer perspective, he kind of is a freak. I'm not like that. And I just want to be very clear. I think we all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses. I can tell you my weaknesses. I'm a great quick start. I'm great starting. I'm a terrible finisher. And I'm okay with that. Like it's something that you need to, each and every single one of you have to have the self-awareness of where your strengths are and not try to be someone else. And so where my fault as an implementer is that I just need to hire people or make sure that I double down on have other people finish projects for me, or I never get anything done. I don't think I finish a lot of things, but people, from the outside world see that I finish a lot of things, but that's not because it's not just about me. And so the same thing with your business, right? Having your self-awareness of where your strengths are. If you are a great communicator, great, lean on that. If you're a great quick start, lean on that. If you're a great gift giver, then go for that. Like I've been hearing a lot about gifts and what you've been doing. That's what you got to really figure out. So today, really, I don't know where the direction of today's conversation is going to go, but I'm happy to serve in any way that I can. But I just want to make sure that that Ben is, I admire Ben for what he does. He's a massive influencer, and the ideas that come out of him. I took some notes there for what he just said. I'm like, yeah, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that. So you got a great mentor here, and I'm here just to kind of serve, add some context and also give some content. So
Laurence is very humble, just so you know, as you see. He's not the most comfortable talking about how great he is. So that's a strength that some other people have. But no, Laurence is a really neat guy. Laurence has incredible brain and incredible insight, and he's very, very real. One thing, my point is this. Let's just do a quick we're going to jump around a little bit here. You went all in. You brushed by that, and I just want to stop for a second because it's something maybe we can all learn about in whatever areas of our life. Tell me a little bit about that journey so you were a chiropractor, you had a big business running, and you weren't really happy, or were you? Like, why would you change? Why'd you go all in to coaching? And we'll talk about your coaching business here too.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of contexts based on the all-in concept. All-in is not about I want to demystify all-in. There's people that are just going to go all-in like poker and go like, I'm all in. And here's like all my chips in the center, right? Now, the thing is that when someone does that, if it's an amateur, they're doing it out of risk, okay? But if you're a professional, you're doing it out of calculated risk. And there's a difference between the two. And I think you need to acknowledge that. When people, when you hear speakers go on stage or people write books, you got to go all in. Like, they're talking about if they're the smart people you're listening to, they're going for a calculated risk. They already factored in, like, if they go all in, if they lose it all, they can build it back up, right? They're not going all in and going like, I'm just going to take a chance on this 50-50, boom, let's just give it a go, right? So when anybody says all in, you got to realize that they're doing it, that they factored in all the downsides. But what they've done is it obviously looks better to say all in. So I just want to have that context. Does that make sense, guys? All right. So when I went all in,
Laurence, that is so cool. I love that. I just want to stop for a second because that's so cool. Amateur all in or professional all in? I'm going to have to think on that. I love it. Calculated risk. Love it. Corey says on our text here. I think that's just, sometimes you just got to take a second. Like, for me, my head's a little thick sometimes. I'm just like, man, that's like really cool. Really cool. Because how many times have we seen that? I've seen people pull the trigger and they shouldn't. I've pulled the trigger as an amateur. And I definitely feel more pulling the trigger, more on the pro side, but still, I think I still have that amateur sometimes going, we'll pull it off. But there's a lot more calculations going on in my life as well. So I really appreciate that, Laurence. I'm gonna have to think on that. That's really good advice.
And if you want to stretch it out a little bit, and there's also a downside when you think too much on it, right? So it's like, it's like finding that right balance of not thinking, overthinking, and this is where the self-awareness needs to come into play. You got to be self-aware of going, are you like an overthinker all the time? Then you need to kind of go, all right, then you need to maybe pull the trigger. Yeah. But if you're a person who like fires at everything, then you might just want to spend a little second to ask before you make that decision, right? So it's just like, you got to know, there's no like one answer for everybody on this call. You just got to figure out what you're about, have the self-awareness, and then decide what's going to act accordingly. So the reason why I'm actually spending this much time on it is because I realized that for me, in the last couple of years, I haven't taken a lot of risk in myself and certain things. And that's something that I realized on me going forward in 2019 is that I need to take a little bit more risk, because in the past, I look back at my 43 years of my life, I look back and go, you know what, the things that have been pivotal in my life have always been when I took risk. And so a couple of things, I'll give you a one risk here. When in 2002, I came to Australia for a week for a student conference, and I went back and it said, hey, we don't know where we want to practice in Canada. do you want to consider going to Australia? To my wife. Like, I literally just got married like 2 weeks before that, after September 11th, when 9/11 happened, and I came back and I said, let's consider going to Australia. And we dropped everything. She quit her job. We had, I think, $10,000. I was still in school. I've been in school for like 8 years by then. We were both 27 at the time. And we just literally just left for Australia. I think we had $10,000 in our pocket. I think $4,000 just went into insurance to just cover me as a chiropractor. So like that we came and risked it all. And it's not risk it all, but like, I mean, what was the fallback plan? Well, go back and practice at home, right? So we went in Australia, and 16 years later, 17 years later, we're still here. That's what was when we went all in. The other time, you went back to like when I quit chiropractic, I kind of felt I've accomplished everything in chiropractic as a professional chiropractor that I reached all my goals within about 3 to 4 years of my life. Like, I sat down in school when I was in Toronto. I wrote down all my dreams, my goals, and what my life would look like. That was my life goal. I achieved it within 3 years. And I'm like, shit, now what do I do? And literally for like the next 5 to 6 years, I just practiced, but I didn't know where I want to do. So I dabbled. I just started going into internet marketing. I started, taking all these courses, and nothing worked. But I was just doing things. I was hustling at nighttime, like studying all the stuff, going to stocks and real estate and all that stuff. But I was never satisfied. But I was learning. I was growing within myself. And there was a pivotal point where I just felt that I needed to make a bigger impact. That was the calling that I had within myself. And all of us have a calling at some point. It's that shadow side, right? That shadow side of us are going, do you want to listen to yourself? Is that thing that you can do more? There's something more. And not everybody have that, but if you have that voice, it's wise to listen to it. And it's wise to go, what does that look like?
Laurence, you think, guys, I guess, does everyone have that? Do you ever have that feeling of like, hey, I have more to give? Or like, I'm just curious. I just want to check in. Like, I think I in my head, I'm thinking everyone has it, but like you're saying, like some people might not. Like,
well, I don't want to make that. See, the reason why I preface that is that because I'm actually curious too, because I don't want to make the assumption that everybody has that voice. I know I have that voice.
That's what I wanted to do too, is check in on my own self. So just a quick little 2 seconds here. Just, does everyone have that feeling of like, maybe there's more? Yeah. I think it's across the board, right? Like,
well, across the board, because I think we hang out with the right people, right? Because we're in a group like this, and you guys are all together, and and we're always striving for more. Why would you be here right now? Like, why would you take time away from your family right now? I know the time had to schedule it for my time. I do thank you for that, because it was like 2:30 in the morning for me to meet at your time regularly. So people like us, right? People like us do things like this. And we do things like this because we're constantly growing. We're kind of searching, and we're always searching. The thing is, though, the thing that I recognize in myself, and I'm sure Ben will agree with this, is that we're all searching. And I don't think it ever stops. And it's okay. I acknowledge that this is maybe my own experience, is that it's okay to continue to grow, always continue to search for more. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not, and it's so cliche, but it's never about the destination, about the journey, right?
Do you think, what's the difference between growing and discontentment?
I think they have to go hand in hand, because the thing is that what keeps you growing is your constant discontent about yourself, of like not being satisfied. Like, that is part of for me, the discontent is the journey of being unsatisfied. Like, there is more. I know there's more of me. There's more impact that I can make. Now, impact, I use the word impact because that's my word, right? That doesn't have to be your word, right? I'm very clear on that. I don't want you to be me. I don't want you to be Ben. I want you to be you. Like, don't feel like you have to follow our paths. Like, have your own path. Like, I have a saying called swim in your own lane. Like, when there was a great story about 2012 Olympics. I was watching the Olympics. I can't remember, it was the 2012. Anyways, one of the Olympics I was watching, and I was watching Katie Ledecky. I was watching swimming, and Katie Ledecky was swimming. She's the U.S. Olympic champion, and she's swimming in a way, and she's like killing the field. Like, I'm not destroying the field. If you ever watch any of the highlights, she literally is like, I think in the 400 meter, 800 meter, 1500, like she's literally like one lap, like 50 meters ahead, sometimes ahead of the second best swimmer in the world. And I was sitting there going, this is incredible. Not for her, I was actually thinking about the second place and the third place and the eighth place. I mean, thinking like, you're in the Olympic finals, right? You're trained your ass off for 4 years, and you're there, and you're nowhere close to the first players. And what are you thinking at that time? Because you got to swim an 800-meter race, and you're like 200 meters in, and she's gone. And you go, shit, what do I do? Like, I wonder what they're thinking. Are they thinking, I'm done? Or are they thinking, I just got to swim? And if you were a professional Olympic swimmer, I would hope that you're thinking, I'm swimming my own race. It doesn't matter what the person on my left or my right is doing. I just got to swim my own lane. And I took down the same analogies that's what we have to do in our own life, right? We have to learn to swim in our own lanes. Swimming in our own lanes means that it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. I don't care if someone's winning $10 million and someone's making $200,000. There's always going to be someone who earns more than you, who earns less than you. It doesn't matter. It's about your life. What do you want? What does success mean to you? That's what matters the most. And then allow Ben to help you get to that. So for me, it's about learn to swim your own lane. And that's the self-awareness that I think I want you guys to all to have. And when we go all in on that, is that it's believing in yourself to go after it. That so it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about that.
How is comparing yourself slowed you down?
Oh, massively. Like, slowed me down by years. It's taking time away from myself. Like, for me, like, there was about a period of about 2 to 3 years where I started worrying about what my colleagues would think of me. And the worst part about that was I started worrying about what colleagues, like certain colleagues, just say, this group of 5 people say, right? That I was worried about what they would think if I put this marketing message out there, or if I said this, or if I did the video on that, or if I, wrote something on this Facebook. I worried about these 5 people. But you know what? I started realizing about 2 years later, I went, why do I care about these 5 people? Like, it's not like these 5 people are ever going to be clients of mine, or do I ever want them to be clients of mine? It's just that somehow I put these 5 people into a pedestal and put them, like, I had to get their approval or permission to post something over here or to have my own voice. That stopped me from being authentic. It stopped me from being my true voice. It stopped me from actually reaching out to the people that would have heard my message correctly the way I wanted them to and actually reached out. Instead, they went somewhere else. And I think that's where the biggest fault is. It's actually lost me time, and it lost me, money is not a big factor. But it lost me the connections, right?
Yeah, that's really interesting, because you changed your message then. You changed your voice.
Yeah, exactly. I had to try to appease to these people, which really didn't matter. And then
and it's funny. Yeah, just 1 second. Remember, I'm on a call, sweetheart. You know what? I thought this was such a great place to do my call here. Oh, that's good. Get your Barbie house. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Can you guys try to be quiet, please?
So a couple things. Let's go on that from here. So one of the things that's when I went all in, it was that I was dissatisfied. I was dissatisfied with my life, that I felt like I needed to do more. And this is the reason. I was a successful chiropractor. I had a great practice. I was working 2 days a week. I had, my kids, they were probably like, I think they were about 2 years old and 3 years old and 1 year old. So I want to spend more time with them. I literally was working 2 days a week, Monday and Wednesday, and had all the other time free. And then I dabbled into the coaching. And I remember telling my wife, 2014, I said to her, I think I need to take a sabbatical. And she's like, what are you talking about? You work 2 days a week. Like,
you have 5 days of sabbatical.
Yeah, I got 5 days sabbatical. So what are you talking about? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just not satisfied. And, I know she always will react that way anytime I start with something like that. And it was fine. And over time, she got the understanding of that, at the end of the day, I probably could have done this for the next 40 years of my life. I had this vision that I was going to practice till I was 80 or 90 years old until the day I died. Like, I literally felt that way. That was my calling. I thought it was my calling to be a chiropractor, to serve and be there for people until the day I died. That was my goal. And until it wasn't. Until that wasn't satisfying anymore. And when I said that I was going to take some time off, I took a sabbatical, and I did take a sabbatical. And within a month, I just knew. It was actually when Ben, you and I were, actually, no, it was before that, before I met you, but I just knew that I was done. And I literally said to my next thing I said to my wife, which was a couple months later, I said, okay, I'm going to sell the practice. And then she freaked out for a little bit again. And then slowly she understood, because what I explained to her was this. I go, at the end of the day, you didn't marry me because you just wanted me. You didn't want me just to do the things I just continue to doing. You married me because I'm never, you don't want to be married to a man 30 years later or 20 years later, even 10 years later, unsatisfied, not pursuing what I'm meant to do. I didn't even know what that was though. You see, that's the key. I don't know what that thing is. I still don't know this to this day, what I'm meant for yet, but I'm okay with that. I'm not chasing it. When I first met Ben, I was chasing. I'm still like chasing, trying to figure out like, what am I meant to do? And that frustrated the hell out of me for the next 2 years after that. And in the last year, I started realizing, I'm like, I don't need to know. I just need to know that I'm moving in the right direction. I don't have to know what that is yet. And you're part of my journey right now, discovering where I'm going to go in the next few years, the next 5, 10, 20 years of my life. I just know I'm moving in the right direction. It feels good right now, intuitively. There's no
I feel like so Laurence and I had gone away for, like, I was probably doing it for 8 years. I think you were doing it for a few years in the same group as me. And we'd go away every quarter, and we'd be with a group of people that were crazy committed to looking within, challenging ourselves. And we'd sit there for 3 days, and we would have our mentor challenge everything. Like, do you like what you do? You know, you like who you are? Are you happy with all your relationships? Do you like where you live? Like, it was just this most intense environment. But what happens is there's this place of, like, you find a few nuggets where you're like, yeah, that's me. You get really clear on what you want. You start making moves. And 8 years later, I can say that in a weird way, I feel like I've arrived. Now, don't get me wrong. It's not arrival, because I'm on a mission and I got lots going on. But at the end of the day, I just know what makes me happy. And I feel like as real estate agents and as business owners, we're so driven to make money and to build businesses and all of these things. But there's this mixture of contentment that goes through my veins. And I think that's what Laurence is talking about. Like, I don't know where I'm going. I know which trajectory I'm going, you know, and I feel like, but I do know what I want in life. I know what makes me happy. And it's actually really simple to get that. Like a moment with my kids, a moment with my wife. Like, my wife's important to me. My kids are important to me. And what's really interesting, guys, as you move forward into marketing and business and relationships, if you can live detached from those things, this is where flow happens. This is where the magic is. But sometimes we get so attached to our plan and so attached to the outcome. Like, we just live like we're not happy until we get to a destination. I feel like if we can let go of those destinations and enjoy this moment, like, there's a moment of where it gets small and it's easy to have. Like, to be happy is really easy. It used to be very hard. And that's some of the work that Laurence and I have been working on in our lives. And that's what I hear Laurence saying. It's like, we used to be chasing things. We both used to chase things. But the cool thing is, once you feel like you've got a bit of contentment, you're happy where you're at, when you go after something, your life isn't determined by if you hit the mark or not. Like, it's a little bit different now. It's like, I'm going to build and grow until I die. You watch. But if something ever gets in the way of my life, it's gone. Like, I just know what I want. And so that's something, it's a challenge. And I think that's a commitment that we all need to make, is that we just have to ask ourselves what we want. So I find it's one of the hardest questions, hands down, to ask, period. Like, what do I want? We've been indoctrinated by culture, religion, by our experiences, our hurts, our pains, our leaders that maybe we shouldn't have as leaders, and whatever. We've been shaped by everyone else's opinion, and it's just a discovery of who you are. It's just, that's why it takes time to unravel.
I think there's a couple of things too as well. It's okay not to know what you want right now. Like, you don't think you have to. Like, there's people who are, I know I've met people who are so clear, like crystal clear on what their life purpose is about, or crystal clear what they really want. And that's amazing. I congratulate them. I'm not like that. Like, I literally don't know certain times. I don't know exactly what I want, and I'm okay with that. And I think it's about that's what I mean by swimming in your own lane, is that you don't have to be like everybody else. And there's enough people in the world to be able to kind of model after, and you need to make sure you're modeling under someone that are similar to your values and similar to who you are. And the second thing with regards to that, being chasing after the things that you're going after is that just realize that you can change your mind. Right? Remember I said, like, I thought I was going to be a chiropractor till the day I died. Like, I literally thought that. And it was no joke, but I changed my mind, and it's okay. But sometimes we feel like we told 100 people, this is what we're going to do. It's okay that you go, you know what? I don't like that anymore. Will they judge you? Maybe. But honestly, I think people care less of you than you think, right? I'm trapped in that too as well, right? But no one cares, right? They are so more involved in their own lives than worrying about what you're doing or what you're not doing. So just don't get caught up in that too.
Yes, it's a good point. It's a really good point. I love that you just said, I love that, to give yourself permission to change your mind. It's such a great thing. Like just make a change. It's okay. And the thing is, and when people judge you, it's quick. What's so good? What's so cool about it? I was listening to a Gary Vee episode, and he says, it's so crazy. Someone called in and said, what do I do when someone's, I'm online and they're just wrecking me and they're saying bad things about me online? And we can all relate to that in some level, and he goes, think about this. Prince, the guy had a symbol made of him, and he died. He literally had about 24 hours of social media time, and we were on to something else. So when you do something, you're such a small fry in life, like in the world's picture, you say something stupid or you do something or you change your mind and they judge you. It's over quick. It's so quick, and we're talking big deal. Yeah, for sure. Get used to it. People are going to judge you. But if you don't change your mind because of that, well, then you might just go the wrong direction the rest of your life. That sucks too, right?
I hate to put you on the spot, Ben, but I remember I'm going to use you as a story here.
You know me, dude.
So the thing is that when we're so hung up on the thing, just say it's a goal or a dream, you're so hung up on that, you're so wrapped around it, oftentimes you can't see alternatives. And you need to allow permission to see alternatives to the thing. So we were in Boulder, Colorado. And, Ben was so excited, right? So he's super excited that he gets finally a chance for his wife to fly over to Boulder and to spend some time with him after our event with Philip for a couple of days. And he was super excited because obviously, how many kids he has. And he's like, time away with my wife with no kids for a few days. He was so excited. He couldn't stop talking about it. And then about a day later, he just literally went bipolar on us. He went from the most excited person to the most depressed person. He's in the corner crying, in the corner. No, I don't know if he was actually doing that, but he felt
it could have been.
I felt the energy. He felt like he was rocking in the corner like a baby, right? I'm like, Ben, what's going on? And he's like, she can't find her passport. She looked everywhere. She can't find her passport. He is losing his shit right now, right? He's like, I had this all planned. And me and my friend Howard were sitting there and watching this whole thing, because when it's not happening to you, you don't have any emotion attached to it, right? So because the thing is, what was happening with Ben is that, and this happens to all of us, I'm guilty of this, is when our emotional brain, because there's three parts of our brain, right? The logical brain, the brain that says, that we think as humans we're amazing because we have this logical brain. Then there's the emotional brain, and then there's the limbic brain, right? The limbic brain is the lizard brain, right? So the logic brain, the limbic brain is the emotional stuff, and then sort of the logic, and then the lizard brain. The lizard brain sort of tells you how you make fight or flight type decisions. And he couldn't see any alternative. And I remember saying to him, from my perspective I go, listen, what is the outcome you actually wanted? She goes, well, I just want to spend some time with my wife. Well, why does it have to be here in Colorado? Why don't you just go to Canada somewhere? You don't need a passport to travel from wherever you are in Edmonton to Vancouver or Toronto or somewhere. Why don't you change your flight to go to Vancouver and then have the time there? And it was just it's open. So the story I want to try to kind of show you is that you can change your mind, because the outcome wasn't about Renee coming to Boulder. That wasn't the thing. What the thing was, the connection, the time he wanted to have with her. So change your plans, change the route to get there, right? Maybe instead of flying, next time you run. Maybe instead of running, you take a train. It's okay, because as long as you get to the goal, right? So I think that was a great story. I was just seeing it literally live.
It was I just didn't see it. You know what I mean? That's why I'm huge into mentoring and coaching. And I had a huge blind spot, and it was why don't you just like go to Vancouver. I'm like, it was just like, sure, it cost me like $1,500 lost, which sucked. But the thing is, at the end of the day, it was totally okay. Like I just jumped on a plane. I met my wife and she flew to Vancouver, and it was kind of rendezvous-ish. It was kind of fun. But yeah, like I think we definitely get attached, and that can really trigger downward spiral. There's no question. I do want to ask you.
I think you never. So let me leave with what's going on. Never make decisions based on emotion. Okay, like and just watch that. Like watch that within yourself. Like if you feel like you're emotional at that moment when you're making an important decision, especially, maybe just take some time. Like back off. When I bought my practice, this is going back when I was about 29, 30 years old. I bought this practice. And we're talking a lot of money at that time. And one of the things that I was negotiating like live with this person, and he was going this, I'm like, okay, well, if I did this, and I was like making these calculations in my head, but it was actually working against me. And I didn't see it at the time because I was so emotional about it. And then after I stepped away, I'm like, oh my God, I just cost myself like 20 grand here just by agreeing to something. I gave him that offer. It was so stupid. But I was like, okay, well, I lost it anyways. What did I learn from it? And the learning lesson was like, never make a decision when you're under emotional stress, right?
And if you think about, yeah, for sure. Yeah, like I'm thinking about everyone here when it comes to like hiring an assistant and having people work for you. That's one of the biggest lessons I've learned. You can burn out people. I burnt out so many people from being intensely emotional and high expectation. And like, you got to take a second. If you're ever going to have a team or ever going to have anyone work for you, you have to take a second and get your head back on straight before you even talk to someone. Like it's so important to think things through. And, but I don't know, like I'm an emotional guy too. And I think it's okay to be emotional, but I definitely think there's times where you got to check in, and having an assistant is where I find, and having people work for me is the biggest reason. It's the biggest reason, because you can't just be an emotional basket case. Like you don't just hang up your phone and you're going crazy. Your assistant's there. You can't do that. So I think it's actually becoming a businessman. I think some of the most powerful business people, they can manage their emotions. But I'm okay with being emotional too. Like there's just this mix.
Well, absolutely. So Lawrence, I'm not suggesting being no
100%.
Yeah.
So Laurence, tell me this. You work with chiropractors. These guys have to build a client list.
Yep.
Right? They got to build a client base. Are they coming to you going, how do we grow our practice? Like, what are they asking you that would, because I know that like I could coach in any industry that has a client base. Like I could literally coach chiropractors into client base. And the thing is, we both know that comes down to personal growth mindset and really good strategies. But the thing is, what are you finding? Are these guys struggling to have a client base, or is it something other like, are they having a hard time managing people? What's the challenges that we could relate to maybe?
Listen, I think the challenges are across the board. No matter in what industry you're in, you're always going to face the same challenges. Like there's three major things, right? Number one is attraction. How do I get more prospects into your business? Number two is conversion. How do I convert those prospects into clients? And three is how do I, deliver on the promises that I promised them. So, which is more about retention. And so if you look at attraction, conversion, and delivery, those are the three main pillars of any particular business. So let's keep it in your industry. Your industry, the main thing is that I guarantee, just like chiropractors, their biggest concern and biggest needs and biggest frustration is always getting more clients. And the thing is that for me is that I always look at the context from majority of the people that I work with and majority of chiropractors, that's never the core problem.
Exactly.
What you think the problem is never usually the core problem. The main core problem is actually in your conversion. And the thing is that we spend so much time. Okay, we spend so much time trying to figure out how to market, how to get more clients, that you've lost the process. You're measuring the wrong numbers. The numbers you should be measuring is not how many clients you're attracting and how many clients you're getting. What you should be measuring is actually how you're converting. The most important, like let's look at Facebook marketing. Facebook marketing works, but I mean, my good friend Nicholas Kushmich talks about the other day. He was saying like it's not about your face. Most people are so concerned about their Facebook ad, like how the ad looks and how the ad's copy is and stuff. But that's actually not the biggest thing you need to worry about. The biggest thing you should be concentrating on is the conversion page. Like, are people actually buying? Because you can have a terrible Facebook ad, but you have a great converting page, you're still going to do well because there's the conversion. So in the context of you guys, it's about how well are you converting? How well it is when someone comes into, like a prospect comes into you, are you converting into a client? But the thing is, when you're thinking about measuring of numbers, it's like the number you're measuring shouldn't be about, I'm sure we all celebrate. When you get a client signing on their line, yes, I'm going to go with you to sell my house. I guarantee you what they're thinking. You're thinking, you're like, yes, right? But really, in reality, that's the wrong number to measure. That's the wrong celebration, because really, in the reality, that you're celebrating the wrong time. Because when someone signs a contract with you to say, I want you to sell your house, that's when the real work actually begins. You should be thinking about when you're celebrating is when they actually sell their house. When they are getting, not even when they sell the house, but when they get the money in the bank, right? That's when you should be celebrating, because that's your job. So when you start to flip that in your head, and all of a sudden now it's not about signing the client, it's about selling the house for the client. So it stretches it out. So from a chiropractor perspective, it's the same thing. It's not about getting a client to sign on a contract to say, he's going to take up your care. It's about getting the result that they came in for in the first place. If they came in with some problems with, a headache, it's like, it's not even about getting rid of the headache. It's about getting their life back to them, transforming their life so that they no longer have to suffer, so they can actually spend more time with their daughter.
And right? I love this topic. I love this topic. It's one of my favorite topics, is that in these industries, we always are so obsessed about finding clients, because that's where a lot of the teaching is being sold. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the teaching is being sold. Just 1 second here.
That's okay.
A lot of the teaching is so sexy when it comes to like getting new clients, get new clients. And we all want that. And like you said, I love the fact that you're saying that it's not the answer. It's not the most.
Well, it's not. The biggest problem is not about getting more clients. It's the clients thing is like, you got to think of this as the long game. So one of the things that you got to be very clear on is that there's three levels. You got to be very clear. Everybody's trying to sell you tactics. I mean everybody, right? Everybody's selling a tactic. Tactic is, what I mean by tactic is like, hey, how do you use Facebook ads to in 2019, to be a better real estate agent, right? Or whatever it is, right? That's a tactical thing. But the thing is that there's thousands of tactics that work. And it might work for Eric here, but it might not work for Jen, right? But the thing is, the tactic is a tactic. But the thing is that deploying the right tactic requires the right strategy, right? So there's strategy. You need to figure out what strategy are you trying to deploy for the right tactic. So right strategy before tactics. Does that make sense? So because just say there's 5 different strategies, and there's like 5 different tactics amongst each other of the 5 different strategies there are. So you need to be very clear. Let's not focus on the tactic. Let's be very clear on what strategy you're trying to deploy. But there's hundreds of strategies as well. Which one are you trying to deploy? Well, that depends on one more level up, which is objective. Like, what's the objective you're trying to achieve? If Jen here is trying to achieve to try to get more clients, whereas Peter, who's disappeared, but if Peter is trying to more about retaining his clients, if Jen and Peter deploy the same tactic, that's not going to work. It may work 100%. For one of them, but not the other, because they have totally different objectives. So be very clear on what's your objective, and then decide on what strategy that's going to satisfy that objective, then decide what tactics you're going to deploy for that particular strategy to get that objective. So really what comes down to what's clear.
You guys get in? So that's the biggest, that's one of the biggest issues in industry style coaching, because everyone's saying, well, this is how you do it. And a lot of people are trying to replicate themselves and what worked for them. And that's the first thing Laurence said, is that we're not trying to make you us. We're trying to make you you. But now one of the biggest challenges we talk about, Laurence, is how many options there are. And I think that you're just chasing constantly. It's so difficult, especially in real estate, because there's a million ways to do it. And then, you know what? Most of them work. That's the problem, right? But I think if the objective is finding clients, like I'm trying to simplify the crap out of this whole business, where it's become our goal, become a follow-up ninja, because we know that objective is going to cover a ton. If you're following up, you follow up on prospects. If you're following up, you're keeping in touch with your clients, and the follow-up just has to be world freaking class. And then the tactics come later. Like then choose your tactic. I don't care. There's 50 different ways to do it. But if your objective, like you said, first of all, the objective should be to blow your client's mind. Like, honestly, they believe like that starts everything, the referrals, it starts your online marketing grows. Every single thing comes back down to blow your freaking client's mind. So that means that everything you do has got to have massive value. You know,
So
and I think
I
love the objective is number one though. Like, what do you want?
So here's the best way I can kind of help you across this, right? I've heard you guys talk a little bit about before, and I think one of the things that I hear what you guys have been obviously teaching and learning a lot of it is about, you know, creating experiences, right? Or empowering your clients with great experiences. That's the sense I get.
Sure.
And so the main objective then for what I would do for you is like, you definitely need to, I'm not suggesting you don't need systems, you don't need like all these world-class stuff, that you need that, all of that, right? So you need to make sure that you're top-notch in those things, because you're in a service industry. I'm in a service industry, which means that it's about the process. So how I look at this is that I always look at other industries and learn from them. So what I love looking at is a restaurant, like a top class restaurant. It doesn't have to be like Michelin star, but like I'm talking about, like, look at restaurants that you go to frequently, that you love, that you would constantly refer other people to. Think about that. And why do you go there, right? What is it about that restaurant that you go to, or the hotel industry? What hotel do you constantly just love? What one hotel? Well, I'm sure we've been to one hotel somewhere in the world that you absolutely love. You can't stop talking about it to other people. Like for me, it's the W Hotel in Bali, like the top notch, not only from beauty and, you know, and what it looks like, but the service is impeccable, right? They treat us like family. It's amazing. Know me, every single staff member knows me by name, no matter where I go. The systems behind that to make that happen is top notch. Yeah. But the key here, right, that I hope it will kind of just nail this for you. I have a saying in my industry, but you know, in this will apply to you, is this. You can write this down. It's human first, real estate second. Okay, human first, real estate second. What that means is that don't be the real estate agent when you meet prospects or meet anybody. Be a human. Understand them. Talk to them, because that's what's going to make you different. Like, I'm not in your industry, so I'm a customer, right? I'm a customer of your industry. I have a house, you know, I bought houses, so I'm a customer. So I've had a lot of real estate agent come to me. And the thing is that what I want from the real estate agent is that I want two things. I want to like them, right? I want to make sure they actually understand me. And number two, that I have the trust that they're going to be able to sell my house. That's the two things. Like, when you think about, that's what I want. So don't get lost in your own little world and what you want. It's like, that's what the customer wants. Now, I might be different than anybody else, but I like to work with people that I actually like. I mean, there could be a real estate agent that I know that could sell my house, but they're like a sleazy person that I just don't get along, and they don't care about me. They just want to sell. I will never hire them. But that's me though. That's not everybody.
It's actually 80%, 90%. It is. Most people want to like the person they're dealing with. They don't want to meet with the guy and not like him. I literally teach likability, which is called self-awareness. You know, it's funny to hear you say that, because that's one of the biggest points out there is that real estate agents should learn how to be likable, which is, if you don't like yourself, that's the problem. It comes down to internal work on, if you really don't like who you are, you don't like parts of you, it's probably going to come through your relationships, and it's going to mirror on.
So if you're using the examples of the strategies you were talking about, like say, you know, shooting videos or sending a card or sending a gift, like, don't send me a gift. Like, I got a call from the real estate agent that sold me this house. I get a call from him probably every, 2 to 3 months, random call. I go, hey, how you doing? Whatever. And that's good. I mean, from a business perspective, I know what he's doing, right? He's trying to continue that relationship, and I totally get it, which is great. But what would be great, what would be awesome on top of that though, which he kind of does, is to kind of not call just to say like, hey, like, I don't want him to call me going, hey, it's a checklist, right? I want him to call and go, hey, Laurence, how are the kids? How is Christian and Kaya doing? Like, they must be growing up soon. Oh, I see on your Facebook that, man, they're growing up so well. I saw that you just got a new playground. That's amazing. We were thinking about this for our other house. Where did you buy that from? I just wanted to help my other customer about that. Like, if you have some core clients, I know you can do it for thousands of people. Like chiropractors, we have 1,000 clients, which is a little harder, right? But if you have hundreds of clients, there might be, maybe pick like the top 10% that constantly move. I don't know what in your industry is, but have your core clients and going, who do I want to keep connecting with? It's not that hard in today's age to go on their social media profile, to kind of figure out what's going on in their life, just like a little bit, and just kind of watch them on Instagram. I know Like my real estate, the real estate the person who sold my house here is constantly liking and my post on Instagram and on, so I know he's following me, right? And so it doesn't take much effort.
Pretty easy to know what you're up to. Yeah,
exactly. It's not hard. Like, sure, I get some of your clients don't actually have a social media profile. Fine, get it. But majority of the people actually do. It's not that hard to figure out like what's important in their life, right? So add a little bit extra. That is what makes you human connection, because now I have, even in my mind, I haven't been thinking about someone in my house, but if I did, he would be one of the first person I would consider, simply because, well, he's the first in mind, right? He's the only person.
So then there's the level that's like in my mind, like I feel like in my crazy mind, that's minimum. You know what I mean? I feel like that's like, I don't want Laurence to be like, well, I guess he's the guy that's contacted me. I guess I'd give him a shot. Screw that, man. I want to be like, Laurence says, holy shit, you're not using Ben? You are crazy. By the way, if you're ever in Australia, this guy, it's the conversation behind our back that's happening right in front of us, because this guy is getting all of us you're talking about this guy as like, not bad. Like, it's almost like he's pretty good, but he's just not, like, he could do so much more. Like, this is my obsession. Because if you can grade your conversation behind your back, like, this is what so you got to do something else. Like Laurence, what I teach is having every single birthday, we send a fresh cooked dozen cookies, or someone else that might do something else, to your doorstep, and saying happy birthday, because we like there's something to do. And then I even think it's getting old. How can we up it again? I even dream of, like, on a key release, bringing a freaking marching band down the street. I'm waiting for someone to be like, I love marching bands. I know I'm weird, but the marching band, you ever see that? You know, like marching bands. I'm just waiting for the guy, because I'm going to call a school, give them $1,000, and marching band their key to their door. And it's going to be social media. It's going to be talked about everywhere. And this guy's going to never, ever, ever choose another real estate agent the rest of his life. This is what we need to do as business people. Like, the example of how you're talking about your guy gets me like, yes, we are on the right track. Because I don't want, like, that's pretty freaking awesome that he's calling you every 2 months. That's like way above everybody else in my mind.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't blow your mind. You're sitting here going, I might use him. That's what we're going to go for. Forget it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, majority, 90% of the real estate agents don't even do anything like that.
That's right.
So it's like, when you guys are able to do even just 10, 20% of stuff, it's like,
that's kind of bar.
You've already stretched the gap so wide, and you just keep doing it. And the thing is like, it's like what I tell on my clients, right? I say, continually do videos. I go, do videos. Videos is where, I mean, it's the new medium that people are going to get to know you, like you, trust you right off the bat. Why? Because they see you visually. Number two, they will judge you. And plus, they will either know to like you or not. And it's okay if they don't like you, because not everybody's going to like you. So they're not going to hire you, but that's okay. Like, just move on from that. Like, by doing videos, they get to see every parts of you. They see you, they hear your voice. They also know what you stand for, what you like and what you don't like. It doesn't always have to be on real estate. It could be like, I mean, you see me right here, right? Like, you can see everything behind me, right? I don't care what you see behind me, because this is my room. I don't care what anybody thinks, but I designed this room for myself. You might think, oh, he's really into sports. Well, I am to an extent. The thing is that I'm passionate about, the things I'm passionate about is greatness. Right? I'm passionate about greatness because I'm a big fan of Lou Gehrig, because of how great he was as a player, which is really rare for someone who I've never even watched playing. I'm a big 49ers fan, but 49ers from a Montana's point of view. I have a Muhammad Ali signature. These signatures are all Magic Johnson's right there. These signatures are people that I admire because they did great things in their life, but they showed up like with passion, not only in the game, but also as a human being. Over here, I have Muhammad Ali with Joe Frazier, like signed. There's a massive photo there, but I want to walk into this room every single day to be surrounded by greatness, to remind myself I need to practice. I like them. I need to focus on the process now, but that's my thing. So I can shoot videos around this stuff, because now all of a sudden they will like that or they won't, but that's okay. I'm not going to change who I am. I just want to lean more of who I am. Does that make sense? And so when I
just posted a quote yesterday that matches that, and it's kind of, again, my obsession, because it's it's hard to be yourself in this world. It's hard to just stand alone. And that's what I find being yourself is some days you just got to stand alone. There's no one supporting you. You're just in you and your little world of this is who I am. And I think about the cool thing is though, if we can get to a place where you really are just being yourself, you're going to have the best quote I seen there. I just posted it. It said, if you want everyone to like you, you don't have anyone to love you.
But the thing is, it's so hard, right? I want to acknowledge this. It's very, very hard to be unique and to be different than your tribe. Okay, I just want to be very clear on that because I'm got caught up in the same loop as you do. I have the same story, I have the same voice just as much as you do. It's very difficult, and the reason why it's difficult is because we are in our DNA, we are trained, right, or designed to be tribal, which we want to stay in the tribe because from a survival perspective, we are meant. Like if we didn't have a tribe to protect us and to provide shelter and sex and food, we would be dead. You do not want to be surviving in yourself in the jungle by yourself because you would die. You need a tribe. You need a community. So therefore, it's our DNA not to stand out so that we don't get kicked out of our tribe. But that's the past. We live in the world where there's multiple tribes. You get kicked out of one, you move to another. There'll be another tribe. I literally watched this Netflix film, a short episode called 7 Days Out. I've not really seen that. It's 7 days out before a big event. And the first one I decided to watch was called the League of Champions. It's blew my wife and my mind because it was and some of you already know this, but there's a championship in an arena where people come to watch other video players, a team of 5 versus another team of 5 play video games for a championship. And it's a team, it's a franchise. The guy who owns one of the teams is Rick Fox from the Los Angeles Lakers, who was a former NBA champion. I don't know if you remember Rick Fox. He owns a team. He hires the 5 best guys to play on his team to go against these 5 guys. Literally it's a whole franchise. And you go, there is a tribe of people who are just watching video gamers play video games, right? There's a tribe of that. There's so many micro niches that's on there. So if you show the passion of it, just say you're an NFL fan. I'm a big 49ers fan. So which means that you either, if you're into NFL, we can have a chat. You might love the Baltimore Ravens and you can talk about how they beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl in the 2000 whatever. We can have a banter, but we'll still have a connection, wouldn't we? Right?
Yeah, and I think the point is there's tribes. The point is if we stand alone, you'll actually attract your tribe. You actually brought something up. Wanted to kind of swing back around to video because I think there's a couple things. I agree. As you see, if you ever watch what I do, it's all on video. I'm a huge video guy. The only disclaimer is if you're an introvert, if you're not good on video, then find another medium and you should literally, there's a website called Medium. You could be a writer, you could be doing that, but there is a consistent, we're talking about becoming an authority. I do believe a video message to your client is amazing. I also believe doing video is good, but what I'm noticing is it becomes a little bit of white noise as well in the real estate world, Laurence, because what guys are doing is every time they have an open house, hey, I'm at an open house, which is good to one point. But again, we're at that level where it's it's great, but it's as soon as everyone starts doing that same thing, it's becoming oh, there's another one. It's just really about adding value. And that's what's missing in video. You know what I mean?
What has to happen is to change the theme. Don't think of what the video does for you. It's think of what the video does for the audience that you're trying to connect with. So think about your audience. What are you doing your video for? You're not trying to do a video to promote yourself because you can do 1 out of 5 maybe of those, but really what it comes down to a video is about, I want to know you. So you're trying to get a prospect. So what does a prospect want? Well, a prospect is there's different types of prospects. There's prospects that are just I'm thinking about selling a house right now, right? Then there's prospects of maybe thinking about selling a house in the next 6 months. And then there's prospects who's not even thinking about buying a house. They just want to, they're not even thinking about it. So there's this spectrum, right? So I'll be doing a video on for the first 2, right? And also just be entertaining for the other one. So what do people want to know? What they might want to know is how to sell your house properly. Things to think about. So if I'm thinking about selling a house in 6 months' time, you might say, you know what? A couple of things. The biggest mistake that people when they come the biggest mistake that people when they want to come to sell a house is that they don't think about how the door looks. I'm just making shit up here, but I have no idea. But like thinking about the door locks,
Yeah.
or thinking about when they don't think about having a professional cleaner clean the cobwebs and making sure that the outside of the house is actually clean. And it's very simple. And I actually, if anything, I can actually refer you to someone who can clean the whole entire house for $1,000, and that $1,000 can translate. It changes the impression of someone. Or here's what something you can consider: like you're literally giving free advice to someone, right?
Yeah.
Giving it all. Like, I know that it's hard to do, but if you give it your all, they're going to trust you more. Because like, if he's giving me the best advice, or he or she's giving me the best advice now, what else what else do they have up their sleeve?
Totally.
I
think the only thing is, too, though, is you got to remember though, sorry to interrupt you, Laurence, but the only thing is that if you start this journey with video, you got to go 18 months. This is the thing. Like, people don't realize that I did video for like 3 months straight. No, 18 months. Like it's probably even longer now. It depends on how much value you're actually giving. Like, I've got a YouTube channel for Team Osterveld, exactly what you're saying. It's how do you get financing, extra financing for rentals? How do you notice mold in the house? Like, I'm building this whole thing. But again, it's not getting me anywhere, but I've got it. I'm building it. It's taking time. So here's
something practical.
It's a long game.
So the long game is absolutely key. And the better, that was my point about the videos, by the way, is that the more videos you do, the better you're going to get, right? Just say you decide to commit to one video a week. That's 52 videos in a year. Now, majority of your other competition probably are not even doing any videos. They might do like 3 a year. So all of a sudden, like, you're like literally 49 videos ahead. But what if you committed 2 videos a week? Now you're 104 in a year. Now you're 100 videos ahead. What if you did 3 videos a week, right? You see how that compounds. Now, if you, on the second year, if you did 2 videos a week, you did, that's 104, that's 208. Now you're literally 200 videos ahead. Like, I'm not talking about just in terms of video content, but just think how much better you're going to be after 200 episodes of 200 videos just standing in front of a camera.
I think that's a good
I've done over 500 podcasts, right? And if you go back to my early days of podcasting, I sucked. It's freaking live. I can't change it. It's always there. Like, but it's bad, right? But it took me 500 episodes to get to where I am now in terms of like just being on a podcast with nothing prepared, right? But let me give you something practical right now. So here, if you divide your audience into 3 types of audience, okay? So someone who's ready to sell right now. Number 2, the second audience is someone who's thinking about selling in the next 6 months. And the third audience is they're not thinking about selling in the next 2 until maybe for another 2 years. So those are your 3 audiences, okay? So no worries, Peter. See you, buddy. What I would do, and take those 3 audience, and I'm going to make this practical for you. What I want you to do is spend some time to think about what are the top 10 frustrations and fears that they have for each one of those 3 categories. What are the biggest problems that they're experiencing in their mind, not your mind? I want you to just get out of your head, out of the real estate agent. Think about you. If you're ready to sell right now, what are the top 10 things that I'd be thinking about, like in my mind? Okay. If you don't know, well, you should know, but if you don't know, ask one of your clients, like, what are your biggest fears right now? Right. They will give you some ideas, and I want you to use their words. So now you should have 30 problems, right, that you should have, and you have a clear solution for it. Shoot a video on each one of those. Now you have 30 videos for the year.
So let's spin that a bit. Now that we got videos, how do we use them? Just to add it, because the thing is, if you can take one of those videos, you have your library. This is fantastic for your assistant, for you to send these videos on topics when you're talking to someone. Now you got sales tools. Okay. That's what's really cool. If it's all packaged onto a YouTube channel, this is the thing. Like, if you run into a client, say you had a call and they're like, you know what, last time I bought, or no, let me just say here, how about this? I don't have money to renovate. So I'm gonna have to buy something to renovate. I said, well, I'm gonna send you a video. It talks about how you can finance your renovation in your mortgage. Like, this is where I believe in old school. If you're gonna make content, use it. Like, I get it. Like, putting it out there is long-term, but if you want to nitro it, use it as a sales tool. Like, if you created education that's authority where you just have the answers to different things, it's great to be able to send. Now, your assistant could do that too. Is that, like, if there's a lead or whatever, this is where I'm going to come in. Is all of these videos that I'm making, I'm actually going to put it into a drip cycle. So what that is I'm going to have it on an automated email. So these videos are done. I'm creating like 10 of the best buy your videos. Once you meet me, I put you into my prospect machine, but those videos got to be short and really high value, or it's risking spam. That's why I've never done it yet. But my videos are great and I'm getting good response. So now I'm going to put together these videos. That's why later on you can do some really cool marketing, which is even basically just send the video to someone that has the topic, because then they can share it. You can send it on Facebook. If you hear someone on a community group talking about water damage, boom, private message in the video. Say, hey, I made a video on this. You might like it. These are sales tools. It's a reason to get in touch with someone. So if you're going to, it's all about how we, and now I'm obsessed with conversions, Laurence. So that's the thing is like, we can do the marketing. And then like you said, the conversation is how do we convert using it? So if you're going to make a video, find out how you can use it. So be sending it to prospects, send it to clients, get onto Facebook groups. You can private message people that have conversations to add value. But I'm looking at putting a drip cycle. So for 10 weeks, they get videos from me as they're in my buying process. Hey, by the way, when you're going to buy, here's the kind of things to look at water damage. Something of high value that's really quick, that's not cumbersome, that's really easy to look at. That's what I'm going to start putting into practice with some of the videos that I've done. So building the videos, you're right. If you go 40, 50 videos in 1 year is easy. Now plan for 2020 to have all your videos in a drip. You know, it could be easy email campaigns. Could be you could even just share your YouTube channels. But I'm just saying once you build it, there's so many other options. But if you don't do anything with it, you might as well just go old school and do open houses and ask people for business and do the old things that work. You know, like a lot of times we spend a lot of time building stuff that we don't use. That's the thing. It's all great. That's the thing, right? So here's the thing, guys. What I want to do is this. So Laurence has been doing online marketing. He's built podcasts. He runs one of the coolest masterminds around for chiropractors that to be honest, I was looking at it today, Laurence, and I'm like, why am I not doing this? I'm like, this is like what you've done is so cool. And I've done similar things, but what he's got is chiropractors join his online world like you guys are joining, but then 3 times a year, they go on a crazy cool adventure. And what's it called? Can you just tell me a little bit about what exactly is your mastermind? Because I think it's super cool. Tell me the stuff you guys do.
Okay, so do remind me before the end of the call, I want to finish up with the video because I have 2 more topics that I'd love for you to kind of mix and match for things, okay? But so I run a group called Nitro, and Nitro is really my private clients, and they work with me 3 times a year. And we get together. I have a group in Europe, and I have a group here in Australia, New Zealand. So what we do is we meet 3 times a year somewhere. And so I do 6 events in a year. So I really find a location. I rent out an Airbnb, a massive Airbnb, and we kind of spend some time together. We spend 2.5 days together. We go through similar stuff to this. We go through ideas. We go through work on personal stuff, really just releasing anchors and things that hold you back, and talk about strategies, and then we go into tactics. So that's what we kind of do. So we spend. Last year we went to went to 5, 6 different countries. We went to New Zealand, to in Queenstown. I'll release some videos from that next week. That's sort of some epic videos from there. We went to, I think we were in Florence in October. We were in Spain. We're heading to Spain, in February. So we just go into different parts of the world, and basically places I want to go to, and they come to me. So it just makes it easier.
You should see these places. He rents out like a castle, brings in like chefs, brings in cool people, and it's a 3 days. I've done retreats like that as well. It's extremely powerful. I don't know if anyone's, Corey's been on those retreats, and but honestly, it's really cool what he's doing.
It's what's amazing about these type of events is that you get together and hang out. The reason why I do it, so it doesn't really matter what I do. It's more the reason why I do it. The reason why I do it is because I need my clients to press pause in their life and also in their business. And the reason why I choose different locations is because I never choose a location. I typically try not to choose a location where one of my clients lives in. I used to do that a lot. Like to say it's in Sydney, or we'll go to Sydney. But the problem with that is that people just go home. The problem is I wanted you to disconnect for 3 days, away from your family and away from your business, because you need that every quarter. I'm only asking you to do this 3 times a year. And you need to do that because you need to get away from your routines. We get trapped in our routines. We get trapped in their routines, and habits are really good, but sometimes we also get trapped in it. You can't think fresh with fresh new ideas. You can't reset. So I pull them away to help them reset to recalibrate and reset for the next quarter. Because let's face it, right now in the beginning of 2019, we're planning for the rest of the 2019, right? What are our goals, what are our accomplishments, what are we going to try to achieve? The problem is that it's a long 12 months. Like we're talking, it's a marathon, right? I don't like marathons. I've never ran a marathon. I don't like marathons. It's a long run. I like sprints though. What I do is like a 90-day sprint. So I sprint for 90 days, and every 90 days I kind of get together with my group and I go, all right, so what did you learn from what was the wins in the last 90 days? What did you learn from the last 90 days? And how do we need to make sure the next 90 days is different, right? And then so you learn from it. You might think, I set like 20 goals and I only accomplished 10. Well, maybe the next quarter, don't set so many goals. Right? Maybe lessen it down a little bit so that you know you can accomplish. And so all these things start to come up. And so that now you have, if you do this every quarter, you have 3 chances at this. So even if you have a terrible first 2 quarters, which is 6 months into it, you still have 6 more months to recalibrate and redirect and recourse back to your goal. Like what we talked about earlier, what Ben's, holiday is like, it was going in this direction, but then something happened and it's like, crap. But remember, our outcome is here. So you just kind of change course and you get there eventually.
Yeah, it's actually, guys, one of the most powerful things I've ever done in my entire life is go away every quarter. And it was never could I really totally afford it. That's the messed up thing. Like money is a whole nother thing. We won't get into it today, but you can never really afford, like I was paying 10 or 15, 20 grand a year doing coaching. And it's funny, like my income kept on growing and growing and growing and growing. And it was kind of like how much of actually just going away is part of that success. Of investing in that time to reflect instead of I'm a grinder, man. I'll give her. Like I don't stop. I got lots going on. I got 5 kids, a couple businesses. If I don't stop. So the other day I went to Calgary for 48 hours. Just even that I got so much out of, and it just twisted and changed a little bit of my direction, which guys, like you think of a boat, you shift it just a little bit, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, 5 years. It's so amazing, that little shift. The problem is because we are so focused on immediate results, we don't actually see, like, oh, I paid for this and we're doing this things. It's probably over 8, 10 years has been one of the most single factors of my success is going away and reflecting. It's just one of those things that I've had massive value. And Laurence and I, that's how we met. So anyways,
high achievers are very hard. Like, look how much energy Ben has, right? And it takes him 24 hours just to go and wind down to get to that space. So, just realize that it does take a bit of time. So don't just go away for 24 hours. Give yourself a good 48 hours or more to really take that time. Yeah.
Yeah. It was actually some of the homework I did with Corey when he first joined. Corey's still here. Some of the homework was right at the beginning. We talked about holidays. And remember that, Corey? Is Corey there? Oh, he's got a mute, so I don't know if he's sitting there, and he might be doing something.
No, I'm here.
Corey, tell me, it'd be a good chance to tell me. Remember the first time? I'm like, when's the last time you gone away by yourself? And you started talking about holidays, and tell me a little bit about what's changed in your life with that, and how that's affected your life by going away.
Well, this was probably a few years ago now,
yeah.
But I think part of it too was my own self-confidence with going by myself, because there was a bit of guilt in the way of leaving my family behind.
Oh yeah.
And so I had to get over that first. But once I did it, I was just like, wow, like just felt so much clarity and just being able to reevaluate things for sure.
And what's so crazy, Corey, your income went up, your holidays went up. You end up buying a boat. You're fishing every weekend almost, or as much as you can. Like, it's amazing that how much your life changed, and you're actually making more money now.
Yeah, like even as Laurence was just saying about these quarterly, 90-day sprints, I was just writing notes and thinking about how much me just running to the lake for even 2 days. Yeah, just fishing alone. I like to do it more with my kids, but if I do it alone, man, do I get time to think? Yes. And just with clear mind. And that's what I realized last year, what really strengthened me to make it my best year ever.
Yeah, and it's evident in so many levels, Corey, like so many levels. It's just possible. We have this weird limiting belief that if we leave our family or leave our work, and like it just feels like we're falling behind or we're losing something, and that's just a screwed up thinking. Like we all have that. We all have pressures. So it is definitely something I'm thinking about, Laurence. I'm really close to putting it out there where we start putting this into the academy. I think it's because now that I'm not working with Philip again, I have to make my own. So it's coming.
So when's the date of the next one?
Yeah, here you go. Hey, when's the date? Dude, I'm an executor. The problem is I'll have 7 of them by this summer. That's the problem. I'm not the guy that I don't need a date. I mean, need some reins on me. I'm like, where can I fit this in?
Let me come back to the videos since no one's, why you think of the next question? Come back to videos. Ben made a good point. There's a lot of noise. And so I'm not suggesting that you should just do videos for video's sake. What I'm suggesting is be strategic about it. So this is the strategy, right? The objective is to get personal brand, right? The objective is to get people to know you, trust you, and like you. The strategy is video. Okay, so the video is do more videos. However, the tactical answer to this is that you don't want to just do videos for video's sake. Like, here's another open house. That's a terrible tactic. A good tactic is tactic number 1 is shoot videos on problems and solutions, which I talked to you about, right? Which I gave you 30, maybe you thought of 30. The second video, but that strategy will only work because then you'll be like the problem guy. Like, why is he talking about problems all the time? That only shows you one dimension of you. That doesn't get me to know you, like you, and trust you, right? Remember, that's the objective. So tactical number 2 is talk to me, shoot videos on what we call the 10 commandments. The 10 commandments is like, what do you stand for? Like, what are your values? What are your commandments that you stand for in your life? It doesn't have to be about business, but it should, it could be about business, but also in life. What are you about? Show me another depth around you. Okay, so I showed you like human first, chiropractic second, human first, real estate person. That's a commandment for me, right? So that showed when I say that, when you heard it, some of you, like not all of you, but some of you going, oh, I love that. That's great, right? Not only because it resonates with you, but also then it shows a side of me, like it tells a lot about me, right? The type of person I am to have that as a stance. Does that make sense? So that's a commandment, okay? So that would be a second tactic is shoot videos on your 10 commandments. Like, you don't have to like just talk about like, you can use stories, you can use an analogy, maybe showing a home. This is what it's about. Okay. The third type of video you should be talking about is the day in the life, a day in the life of what's going on with you. Like, I don't care if you're on holiday, show, if you need to make a decision here, what you want to show. You don't have to show everything. Some people show their family, some people don't. Like, it's not a big, like, it's no right or wrong answer to it. You just need to decide, what are you comfortable with? Okay. You don't have to show off your kids. I wouldn't suggest it if you're not comfortable. If your wife's not comfortable with, don't do that. Right. But if you're both comfortable in that it's part of your life and that's who you are, when I show, if I'm showing my kids like on video, and what does that tell me? What does it tell everybody else watching? Well, that I'm a father. Like, did you notice I intentionally mentioned that? How old am I, by the way? Does anybody remember? 43, right? Why did I say that? Because I know one of the things in your mind is that you think I look young, right? When I said 43, I guarantee some of you were going, holy shit, that's not possible, right? I intentionally told you that, like subconsciously, I said, for the last 43 years, I intentionally said that to most of my audience because most people think like, this young kid, he doesn't know anything. He doesn't have, I'm establishing that I have experience. Does that make sense? But subtly, I didn't say like, hey, I'm 43 years old. I did it subtly. That's what you can do on videos.
It's called the unsaid. Like a huge part of how, like literally how I've found so much success is that I know what I'm saying, but I'm not saying it. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like, it's so easy to communicate through. What it is you're causing someone to make an assumption, or you're predicting that there's an objection and you're dealing with the objection before it even shows up. That's that's just pro communication skills while you're communicating. Like, if someone has an objection, you talk about it before it even shows up, and then it's not a big deal.
So a day in the life would be like a video like this. Like, just say you're on holidays, I don't know, in Florida, say, and you happen to be in Florida and you're a real estate and you're talking about real estate. So you happen to go walking around and goes, hey, I'm here with my family on holidays right now. And by the way, you should take holiday. Everybody should take holiday. But you haven't been to Jacksonville. Not that I would. I don't know why Jacksonville, but I said Jacksonville just came to mind. If you haven't been to Jacksonville before, you should definitely not come. But here's the reason why. Like, you see this house right here. Like, this house is for sale. This market is very similar to the market that's happening in Toronto right now, but very different. Like, this house is here is for $500,000, but in Toronto, we're going for $2.2 million. The reason why and now you have a story to tell.
A great video.
Right? Does that make sense? Because now it's about, you get to show your personality, you get to show who you are, what you're about, but also seeing
interesting too.
It's interesting. Exactly. Not just like, hey, so your problem about selling your house is this, and here's the stuff.
Or come see me. I'm at an open house again, and there's nobody here. Please come. I've got snacks. That's
you don't need to sell yourself in every video. Trust me on that. Like, people will get to either they're going to like you and they're going to know you and they're going to remind you and they would find you. Like, if I saw someone I really like, what do you do? Like, what do you do when if you saw a picture of someone or watched the video, I'm like, oh, I really like that person. What do? You're going to go, if you're on YouTube, you're going to go to that channel and learn more about them. Or if you look at that person, like, I might want to watch more videos about them. You don't need to go, hey, at the end of every video, I'm so-and-so, I'm Laurence Tham, go to my website. You don't need to say that all the time. You don't need to pitch them something every single time.
That's why 18 months and patience. Like, we have to realize patience in 18 months. And it doesn't have to be 18 months, but the mentality has to be long game. Just
do more than you think.
Laurence, when you talk about going all in, and to a level, it's got to be like a calculated risk. Has there ever been a point or a direction in your life you've ever been in where, obviously there's got to be some level of strategy and logic behind it, but sometimes when we're, in that innovative mode, it's not perfect. It doesn't look perfect. And sometimes your calculated risk, may not pan out that well on paper. Have you ever took a leap or anything like that before previous where you put some level of calculation in it, but because it maybe was new that you just went with it?
Yeah. So I think when I say calculated risk, I think it's about what your level of your comfort of what that risk is for you. And everybody has a different risk tolerance, right? And you got to know your own risk tolerance. I think one of the key things is knowing, like, so I'll give you an example, and I don't know if this will explain it. So I moved from Perth to Sydney about 4 years ago, literally around this time. And if you don't realize how big Australia is Perth is like Vancouver and Sydney is like Toronto. Like, that's the distance. It's like takes 5 hours to fly from one side to the other. So I've been living in Perth for 12 years. It's the furthest capital city in the world, right? Away from another capital city. And like, it's got 2 million people there. And I lived there for 16 years. And I had the decision of after I sold my business for 4 years ago, I go, maybe we should move to Perth. This all happened in the same year, right? We should take a sabbatical, sell my practice, and move to Sydney. That all happened in the same year, about 3 months apart. My wife loved me that year. So when we decided to move to Sydney, I was tossing up all the pros and cons. When you make decisions, I mean, there's always going to be pros on both sides. There's always going to be cons on both sides. And they're always going to balance each other out because that's what pros and cons do. And so you never make a decision. So what I ended up doing was, like, instead of looking at the pros, because there are always pros of whether staying or going, the decision I made was, like, I looked at the cons. What's the consequence of me staying in Perth? And what's the consequence of me going to Sydney? And what I decided to do was looked at the consequences and decided going, you know what? What's the consequence I'm willing to live with? Okay, so the calculated risk was I knew no one in Sydney. I mean, I have one friend who's around here. But the thing is, if I moved here, like, what are all the consequences? Well, I have to start from scratch. The houses are way more expensive in Sydney than it is in Perth, right? And, I'm in an area that I have to reestablish all the new friends, blah, blah, blah. But if a consequence of staying in Perth was that, I would have to be in Perth. and that thought, like, literally, this was my thought. The thought of seeing my kids going through high school in the same school and me living in the same house scared the shit out of me that I'm saying we're moving to Sydney, right? Even though with all that risk of moving the houses and stuff, the risk I took here is I sold and bought my house sight unseen in Sydney. I was in Europe at the time, right? And that's the risk. So the thing is that when you talk about calculated risk, you need to decide on what risk tolerance you're willing to go for. And when you go on, you have to go all in on certain times. You need to, it's like that whole added, the saying of, like, you got to come to an edge. And at a certain point, you're going to need to learn to leap. Like, at some point you need to jump, right? But you don't need to jump like 10 feet away from the cliff. Like, there's a point, you just do all the due diligence up to a certain point, and then at the edge, you need to decide. And that's when you need to take, there are risks of, hey, you sometimes got to ship things out. I love Seth Godin's, the thought process is shipping it. Like, you got the point to ship it. Everybody has a point, and you just need to know to take a leap, or you're going to take a step back.
I think about Philip McKernan, our mentor, and one of his famous quotes is, "In the absence of clarity, take action." Because sometimes you just aren't clear, and you will be if you move forward. If you just don't know, that's what I hear you saying. It's like, I'd be living in Perth. I just don't know. And it's almost like if Sydney sucked, oh, you could change it, but you would know. And I feel like that's the feeling where if you just never know, there's that itch that needs to be scratched. It may be the wrong move or right move, but there's no such thing as wrong and right moves. That's all I believe in. They're just moves.
No, there isn't. And that's why you just need to, for me, knowing your consequences, like knowing if you make that choice, what are all the things that could go wrong? Can you live with that? There's a great, I don't want to spend too much time on it. You can look it up. Go look at Tim Ferriss, fear setting. I think it was a TEDx talk or TED talk on it. Fear setting. It's a great talk, and he lays it out exactly what to do if you actually have fear, and actually going through that process really helps.
Yeah, that's great. We'll take a look for that for sure. It's a Tim Ferriss fear setting. Is it a YouTuber? YouTube?
Yeah, you can find it on YouTube. It's on. I'm pretty sure it was a TED talk. So yeah,
TED Talk.
YouTube. Yep.
So guys, the 90-day sprint is literally what we're about to launch, because we have January, February, March, and a bit of April, and then guess what happens? 75% of your income shows up. Like it's and most of the time it's during the spring, especially in Canada. And so what we're going to be doing in the academy is really focusing. The objective is to prime your engines, is to get everything ready, where we're going to make sure there's a few different basic business systems so you don't hit a feast and famine. We're going to prime the engines, which is learning how to like really masterful asking for business, following up system, and then making action promises. There's going to be like 25 or 30 things you can do action promises, asking for business, and follow-ups. We need to put this into practice now, guys. Like, I don't care if you're 10 years in the business, 2 years in the business, it's all the same fundamentals when you're growing a client base. But we want to grow it and put in some, like, I would love it if it's like, there's 50 systems I could teach, but what if we implemented 2 business systems in 90 days? Like, really, is that birthday system? Let's put the birthday system in place, get it going. Now it's done. So for the next 90 days coming up or so, like not counting the investment one, what we're going to do is we're really going to focus. We're going to have accountability partners for 90 days. And it's all going to be laid out. I've got an email coming to you guys that we're going to like hyper focus for 90 days on our businesses to prime the business so it's ready for an explosive growth for spring. I truly believe this could change the entire year if we do the next 90 days correctly. And I'm one of the guys that are going to be into the game too. I'm going to be doing the same stuff. Any comments or questions on that as we move on? Thumbs up to that. I think the goal is biggest year yet. Okay. But most successful year doesn't mean that it's just money. I swear, we're all going to go away. You don't even know this, but we're all going to go away. Laurence, I'll tell you about it when it's happening. You're guaranteed you'll start seeing it. It's on the, I think that's what I'm going to do. We're going to go away. We're going to reflect and celebrate our wins. Okay. But anyways, okay, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Laurence, hey, really appreciate it, man. You're so generous, super smart guy. Love your heart. Thank you so much for joining us and spending your time with us.
It's a pleasure. Thanks, guys. I really enjoyed this, and have a great 2019, okay?
Cheers, guys. Have a good one. We'll see ya.